Welcome into Mock Trial Masterclass, your guide to controlling the courtroom. I'm Luke and I want you to be a mock trial master. Let's talk about how you can make that happen. Expert witnesses are super important in mock trial. They're opportunities for big-time performance points and to convince the scorers that your side of the case is the correct side of the case. It's the one that they should rule with if this were a real trial. So what we're going to do in this video is talk about creating a great expert direct from an expert witness statement. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with an expert witness statement from an old Tennessee mock trial case, which is where I coach. And we're going to break it down together, and I'm going to show you exactly the approach I would take based on this witness statement to creating a direct examination. And what I hope you'll be able to see is that you'll get a clue into my process for doing this and that you can apply it to your teams when you're creating expert witness directs. Before we hop in, I want to remind you that if you have a question or a topic that you want to see me cover on a future mock trial masterclass video or podcast, please leave a comment below. I would love nothing more than to help you out. All right, so let's hop in. We're dealing here with an expert witness who is a musicologist. This is a plagiarism case within the music industry. So the defendant is being accused of stealing parts of someone else's song and passing it off as their own. And what the jury's being asked to decide is the defendant liable for doing this? And this expert witness, appropriately named Dr. Do Re Mi, LOL, is going to help us figure that out. So with an expert direct, there's really four things that happen. Those four things are, number one, the expert's background. This is the part of the direct where you're going to talk about the expert's education, their work history, basically the things that qualify them to be an expert. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to talk about their opinion, because an expert is mostly useless unless they have come to some kind of opinion about the case. So you're going to ask them what their opinion is. You're going to ask the questions that satisfy the rules of evidence as far as their opinion is concerned, like, did you reach this opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty? Did you have sufficient facts or data to come to this opinion? This is the time you're going to ask questions like that. Then once you've given the jury your opinion, you're going to have the expert break down their opinion. This is where you're going to take those complicated concepts that expert witnesses so often have and break them down into easy to understand terminology as best you can. And then finally, you're going to want to wrap up with a big finish. Maybe the fact that this expert provides that has the biggest impact on your case, just something that closes the direct out in a memorable way. And so as I start looking at an expert witness statement like this one, I'm looking for things that are going to help me hit all four of those prongs. So let's start with background, the very first thing we're going to look for. And almost always, guys, the background stuff, as you know if you've done mock trial before, it's going to come right at the beginning of the witness statement, and this one is no exception. So we have right here, my name is Dr. Do Re Mi. I'm an expert witness for the plaintiff, Jesse Jamison. I've been a musicologist for approximately 15 years and have testified in over 100 cases on behalf of many talented musicians. I'm qualified to make expert analysis of these songs because of my extensive work as a musicologist and my doctorate in theory and composition from Volunteer University. That right there is the first section of your direct examination with an expert. Super, super easy. Now, you might be able to get a little bit more detail if the expert has a curriculum vitae or a CV, or basically a resume explaining more about their educational and professional background. But even if you don't want to go that far, this is great stuff to start an expert direct, and you're going to get this pretty much every time. In fact, I reckon to say every time you're going to get this. So I've already written in my head the start of the expert direct. It's going to go, please tell us your name. What do you do for a living? Well, I'm a musicologist and have been for 15 years. I also testify in court. Well, how often have you testified in court? I've testified in over 100 cases on behalf of a lot of talented musicians. Tell us about your educational background. Well, I studied, and this is where you'd probably have to go to the CV to talk about, their undergrad, because I don't see that in here, but it's going to lead up, and I have a doctorate in theory and composition from Volunteer University. That's the start of the direct right there. Super easy, writes itself based on the expert's background. The next thing we're going to go into is the opinion that they came to in this case. Now, as far as writing their direct goes, the question that I almost always, every single time ask to lead into that part of the direct is, So how did you become involved with this case? It's a great transition question from talking about the expert's background to getting us to the present day. So we talk about their background and then, well, how did you become involved in this case? Well, I'm going to guess that there's something in here that's going to tell us that they were either asked by the defense to study the songs involved. I'm just kind of looking at this on the surface level right now. I don't see anything like that, but you would always kind of assume. I was asked by the plaintiff. This is a plaintiff witness. I was asked by the plaintiff to testify, to perform an analysis of these songs, right? And so now we're going to ask questions about that opinion. Well, did your analysis lead to any opinions? Well, yes, it did. And so now we want to see what was the opinion that this expert witness came to. And typically, you can go to the end of the affidavit because you have this like a little in conclusion, and this is one of those times. So, in conclusion, I feel it to be impossible for two songwriters to create such similar songs independently of one another. Both the lyrical content and musical structure point to a finding that one is a copy of the other. As such, it is clear to me that the most important portions of He's My Still Loving You, indeed nearly the entire work, was copied from June to July Girl, those were the names of the songs in the case, right? We've just written the next part of the direct, guys, right? So we start with the background, we ask those questions, then how are you involved in the case, and then we move on to the opinion. Did your analysis lead to any opinions? Yes, it did. All right, well, we need to ask a few questions about that opinion. Did you use reliable methods? Did you have sufficient facts and or data? And was that opinion reached to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty? I talked about that a second ago. And then we're going to ask, what was your opinion? What conclusion did you reach, Dr. Do-Re-Mi? And Dr. Do-Re-Mi is going to say some version of this paragraph that we just looked at. And guys, pretty much every expert witness statement has a paragraph just like this. It's usually at the end. I kind of had the instinct that this one would be at the end. But you can find it sometimes at the beginning right here. But in terms of writing an expert direct, I always like to have that opinion at the beginning because that gives the jury context for what they're listening for and to throughout the rest of the direct. So we have the background, we've given the jury the expert's opinion. Now we're going to move into explaining that opinion and breaking down the complex terminology. That tends to be the more difficult part of an expert direct, and that's what the majority of this witness statement is covering. Now, what I'll go ahead and tell you about the rest of this witness statement is that things get a little bit complicated. Now, I'm a musician. I took theory in college, so I understand some of the things he's saying about a 1-5-4-5 repeating chord structure, a 6-5-4-5 repeating chord structure, right? And I could get really nerdy about what all of that means. But here's the problem. If I'm playing this witness as someone who did study music theory, some in college, I'm not dealing with a jury that did. And so this is not the opportunity for me to flex my muscles and say, well, look how much I know about music theory, and that 6 chord being lowercase, that means it's a minor chord, and the 5 being uppercase means this and that, and the 1 chord, that's also called the tonic chord, right? I'm probably confusing you listening to this video, and why wouldn't I? Because most people don't know that stuff. The only reason I know that stuff is I love music, and I love digging into music and understanding music, but your average person is not going to know those things. The same for any other type of expert witness you're dealing with, because this just happens to be one that falls in my wheelhouse, but the majority of experts that I deal with in coaching mock trial, I got no clue what they're talking about for the most part, at least at first. Okay, so your whole goal is to take this complicated information like this and break it down, if you will, put the cookies on the bottom shelf where everyone can reach them. That's what you want to do with these types of witnesses. You want to have them break down complex information. There are a lot of ways you can do that. You can have them, the witness go up to a demonstrative aid if you're able to use one of those. Maybe you have an enlarged exhibit and start breaking stuff down by writing it down, using a pointer to point stuff out. You can have them just stay in their witness chair and say complicated terms. So I don't know that there's necessarily a complicated term in here, but these chord structure things, that's hard for people to understand. So the main job of this witness in a mock trial round would be to help the jury understand exactly what all of these Roman numerals mean and how they prove that the two songs are similar. It's a tall order a lot of the time, but that's what you're tasked with doing with writing a good expert direct, and that's the next place I'm going if I'm in the process of writing this expert direct. And then the final thing that I'm going to do is try to find that big finish. And in this case, as I'm looking through this witness statement, again, just on a surface level, I haven't really dug into it that deeply, But I don't have to dig into it that deeply to know that what is probably going to be the best big finish for this witness is some fact they can give us that points more than anything else to their side of the case being true, almost like a mic drop moment. What you don't want as your big finish is to have them repeat their opinion, right? It's almost like I've seen these attorneys that get up and it's almost like they go, and one more time, Dr. Whoever, what was your ultimate best #1 opinion, right? That's asked and answered. That's repetitive information. We don't want that. You want your mic drop to be the biggest fact that this witness can provide. The fact where they say, well, actually I found this as I studied the songs, and the jury kind of goes, wow, you know, that makes me think the defendant is liable. That's where you want to end. And guys, in just this short video, it's all just kind of me talking out loud, but we've basically written a direct for this expert witness. Now, there's a lot of details that I or you would have to dig into as far as this musicology is concerned and the Roman numeral chord structure like we talked about that you're dealing with here from their expertise. But we have the background. We literally just talked through what the background was. We talked through writing the opinion questions. You know exactly where to go as far as breaking down the opinion. And then you're going to have your big finish, and you're going to figure that out if you were doing this case based on what you know about the rest of the case. And that's really as simple as it is to write a good expert direct. Just make sure that your expert witness, the one who's playing that part, understands that their whole job is to be the smartest person in the room, but not in the sense of like someone who's really annoying and wants to arrogantly let you know that they're smart, but someone who is so in command of their area of expertise that they can break things down very simply so that others can understand it. If you can hit that, you're going to be in great shape. If you want even more intel in this department, pick up a copy of my book, Mock Trial Masterclass. There's tons of stuff in here on expert witnesses, but also everything else in mock trial, both from a witness and attorney standpoint. You can pick up a copy by going to the link in the description on YouTube or in the show notes on podcast platforms. But if you can just keep these tips in mind, I know that your expert witness performance, whether you're an attorney or a witness, is going to rise to the level of a mock trial master.